He was always the sun, I was the forgotten shadow. Our parents basked in his light, they never saw mine. Daniel could do no wrong. Every award, every achievement, it was celebrated like a national holiday. My accomplishments, met with polite smiles and a swift change of subject. I grew used to the quiet, to the feeling of invisibility. I buried myself in books, found solace in words. My brother thrived on attention. He was loud, boisterous, a natural performer. I was content to observe, to analyze, to understand the world from a distance. But even in the shadows I felt the warmth of injustice, a slow burn in my gut. It wasn't jealousy, not exactly, it was something deeper. A resentment that festered with every unearned praise, every stolen opportunity. I worked hard, studied harder. My grades were impeccable. Every day was a grind, but I embraced it. The long hours in the library, the countless nights spent poring over textbooks, and the endless cups of coffee were all part of my journey. I was determined to excel, to rise above the mediocrity that surrounded me. My dedication was unwavering, and my focus unbreakable. My ambitions, though quiet, burned fiercely. They were like a hidden flame, growing stronger with each passing day. I didn't need to shout them from the rooftops, I knew what I wanted, and that was enough. The fire within me was my constant companion, guiding me through the darkest of times and lighting my path forward. I wanted to be a writer, not just any writer, but one whose words could touch souls and change lives. I dreamed of crafting stories that would resonate with readers, transporting them to worlds beyond their imagination. Writing was my passion, my calling, and I was ready to dedicate my life to it, to spin tales that transported readers to other worlds. I envisioned my stories as portals, gateways to realms where anything was possible. I wanted to create characters that felt real, emotions that were palpable, and adventures that were unforgettable. My goal was to leave a lasting impact on anyone who read my work. Daniel wanted to be a lawyer. He had a different kind of fire, one that was fueled by ambition and a desire for power. His dreams were of courtrooms and legal battles, of winning cases and making a name for himself in the legal world. He saw the law as a battlefield, and he was ready to conquer it, a high-powered shark in a pinstriped suit. Daniel's vision of success was clear and unwavering. He wanted to be at the top, to command respect and wield influence. His path was one of prestige and authority, and he was willing to do whatever it took to get there. He saw my passion for writing as weakness, a frivolous hobby. To him, my dreams were nothing more than childish fantasies, a waste of time and potential. He couldn't understand why I would choose a path that, in his eyes, offered so little in return. He would laugh, call me the dreamer, his voice dripping with condescension. His words were like daggers, meant to wound and belittle. But I refused to let his mockery deter me. I held onto my dreams even tighter, using his disdain as fuel for my determination. He never understood the power of words, how they could inspire, heal, and transform. Words were my weapon, my tool for change. They had the power to build bridges, to break down barriers, and to create new realities. Daniel's world was one of rigid structures and cold logic, but mine was filled with endless possibilities, how they could build, destroy, and reshape reality. Then came the internship, an opportunity that could change everything. It was a coveted position at a prestigious literary magazine, a chance to prove myself and to take a step closer to my dreams. A coveted position at a prestigious literary magazine. It was my chance. My opportunity to shine, to show the world what I was capable of. I could already see the doors it would open, the connections I would make, and the experiences I would gain. My ticket out of the shadows, a way to step into the light and claim my place in the literary world. I was ready to give it my all, to pour every ounce of my being into this opportunity. I poured my heart and soul into the application. Every word, every sentence was crafted with care and precision. I wanted my passion to shine through, to make an impression that couldn't be ignored. Spent weeks crafting the perfect writing samples. I revised and rewrote, striving for perfection. I wanted my work to stand out, to be a testament to my dedication and talent. I could already taste victory. The anticipation was exhilarating. I imagined the moment I would receive the acceptance letter, the joy and pride that would fill my heart, feel the weight of my own success. That's when he struck. Daniel, with his sharp words and cutting remarks, tried to undermine my confidence. But I was ready to face whatever challenges came my way, and to prove that my dreams were worth fighting for. He stole my work, my stories, the words that flowed from my heart and soul, the narratives that I painstakingly crafted, were now being paraded as his own. It was as if he had reached into my very essence and ripped out a part of me, my words. He passed them off as his own. The stories that I had nurtured, the characters that I had breathed life into, were now being used to build his reputation. It was a betrayal of the highest order. I discovered his treachery by accident, overheard him on the phone, his voice slick with confidence, reciting my words verbatim. The shock of it was like a physical blow, leaving me reeling and gasping for breath. My blood ran cold, the room spun. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as the reality of his betrayal sank in. How could someone I trusted so deeply do something so heinous? He had done it before. Stolen my ideas for school projects, for debate club arguments. Each time I had let it slide, convincing myself that it wasn't worth the confrontation. But this time it was different. But this was different. This was unforgivable. This was not just a petty theft of ideas, it was a calculated move to undermine my very existence. It was a direct attack on my identity and my future. The internship was mine. I had earned it. He knew it. And still he took it. He took the opportunity that I had worked so hard for, the chance to prove myself and build my career. He needed to win, to be the best, even if it meant crushing me in the process. His ambition knew no bounds, and he was willing to trample over anyone who stood in his way, even if that person was his own brother. Something inside me snapped. The quiet, obedient son, the disregarded shadow, ceased to exist. In that moment, I realized that I could no longer stand by and let him take what was rightfully mine. In his place rose a steely resolve. I would not let him win, not this time. I would fight back, and I would reclaim what was mine. No longer would I be the passive victim of his schemes. I would have my revenge, and it would be served cold. The time for forgiveness and understanding was over. Now it was time for justice, and I would stop at nothing to see it done. My plan was simple, elegant, cruel, yes. But it was a necessary cruelty, a calculated move in a game that had been rigged against me from the start. I had spent countless nights lying awake, thinking of how to make him pay. The betrayal, the lies, the way he had manipulated everyone around him, including me. It was time for retribution, but no crueler than what he had done to me. He had taken everything I held dear, shattered my dreams and left me in ruins. The pain he caused was immeasurable, and the scars ran deep. I knew I had to strike back, to reclaim my dignity and my life. This was not just about revenge, it was about justice. It started with a job offer. A seemingly innocent gesture, but it was the first step in my elaborate plan. I knew his weaknesses, his ambitions, and I used them to my advantage. The job offer was the bait, and he took it without hesitation. A friend of a friend owed me a favor. It was easy to pull some strings to create an opportunity that was too good for him to pass up. The wheels were set in motion and there was no turning back. A position had opened up at his firm, a prestigious law firm, Daniel's dream firm. I planted the seed. I knew he would be drawn to it like a moth to a flame. The allure of success, the promise of power, it was all too tempting for him to resist. Casually mentioned the opening to our parents. They were always so proud of him, always singing his praises. I knew they would pass the information along and he would be intrigued. It was all part of the plan, knew it would get back to him. He was hooked. The moment he heard about the opportunity, he couldn't stop thinking about it. It consumed him, just as I had hoped. He was already falling into my trap, lured in by the promise of prestige and power. He saw it as his chance to finally prove himself, to show the world what he was capable of. Little did he know, he was walking right into my web. He didn't even bother to apply through proper channels. His arrogance was his downfall. He thought he could bypass the system, that he was above the rules. It was exactly what I had anticipated, just assumed he would be given the position. His confidence was unshakable, his belief in his own superiority unwavering. He never doubted for a second that he would get what he wanted. After all, he was Daniel, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in the eyes of our parents, our friends, everyone. He had always been the favorite, the one who got all the breaks. Doors always opened for him. He never had to struggle, never had to fight for anything, it all came so easily to him. But this time things would be different. The interview was a performance. He played his part perfectly, charming everyone in the room. They were captivated by his charisma, his confidence, but I knew the truth. I watched from the shadows, a ghost in my own right as he charmed his way through it. They were smitten, blinded by his confidence. They couldn't see past the facade. They didn't see the emptiness behind his eyes, the lack of substance. He was all show, no depth, but they were too dazzled to notice. He was a hollow shell, coasting on borrowed dreams. and soon, they would see him for what he truly was. My plan was in motion, and there was no stopping it now. The job offer came through. He accepted with glee, quit his current position, burning bridges in his haste to join the new firm. He was so close to falling into my trap. The day before he was due to start, I made my move. I contacted the firm, revealed my brother's true nature, how he had stolen my work, passed it off as his own. I presented irrefutable evidence. The emails he had sent, the documents he had altered, all meticulously saved, waiting for this moment. Their reaction was swift, brutal. The job offer was rescinded. Daniel was blacklisted. His reputation, built on lies and deceit, crumbled before his eyes. The news spread like wildfire. Whispers followed him like shadows. He became a pariah. His fall from grace was spectacular. His friends, those who had once basked in his reflected glory, abandoned him. He was alone, utterly and completely alone. I watched it all from a distance, felt a flicker of satisfaction, but it wasn't enough. I needed him to understand, to feel the weight of his actions, to experience the same pain he had inflicted on me. One evening I went to his apartment. He was a shell of his former self, eyes bloodshot, hair a mess. The golden boy had lost his shine. "You," he spat, his voice laced with venom. "This is all your fault." I met his gaze, my own steady. "No, Daniel," I said softly, "this is all on you." With Daniel out of the picture, I reapplied for the internship. This time there were no obstacles, no stolen dreams. My talent spoke for itself. I thrived at the magazine. My words found their audience. My stories resonated. I made a name for myself, not as the golden boy's brother, but as myself. The satisfaction I felt wasn't malicious. It was the quiet joy of reclaiming what was rightfully mine, of proving my worth on my own terms. The experience had changed me, hardened me, but it had also set me free. I no longer craved my parents' approval. I didn't need their validation. I had found it within myself, in the power of my own voice. I heard whispers of Daniel's life. He had hit rock bottom, lost everything. His career, his reputation, his family, all squandered in the pursuit of unearned glory. Part of me pitied him, but the empathy was fleeting. He had made his choices, sown the wind and reaped the whirlwind. The golden boy had fallen, and from the ashes of his destruction, I had risen. The scars of the past still lingered, but they no longer defined me. I had escaped the shadow of my brother's deceit. I had learned that true success wasn't measured by accolades or applause. It was the quiet satisfaction of knowing your worth, of staying true to yourself even in the face of adversity, and that I knew was a victory worth more than any stolen dream.